I never thought I'd be one of those women. The kind who drifts in her own home, seen but not really felt. But that's what my marriage to Greg had become. A comfortable silence. A routine without romance. He was older, stable, successful, but always somewhere else. Physically present, emotionally absent. I'd tell myself, this is what adulthood looks like. You're lucky. And maybe I was. But loneliness doesn't care about logic. Ethan moved in a few months ago, Greg's son from his first marriage. Fresh out of college, figuring things out. I didn't know him well. Our paths had barely crossed during holidays before. He was polite, quiet, kept to himself. But I noticed things. The way he avoided eye contact. How he never called Greg Dad. And how he started spending more time around the kitchen when I was home. I'd try to be warm, ask about job interviews, how he liked the city, offer coffee. Motherly things. At least that's what I told myself. The line between maternal and curious blurred before I ever admitted it. It happened one evening. Greg was away on a conference, again. Ethan and I ended up watching a movie. Some sci-fi thing I didn't care about. I made popcorn, joked with him like we were old friends. He laughed. Deep and unexpectedly charming. I felt it in my chest. When the movie ended, I stood up and stretched. He did the same. Thanks, he said. It was nice. Just small talk. I smiled and pulled him into a hug. Something instinctive. Natural. But in that moment, only a second, I felt it. Pressed between us. Firm. Real. He didn't move. Neither did I. My arms stayed around him too long. My body froze. My brain screamed to let go, but something inside me hesitated. When I finally stepped back, he looked at me fast, then down, then away. I should go shower, he said quickly, disappearing upstairs. I stood there in the living room, heart thudding. I told myself I imagined it. That it meant nothing. That I was being ridiculous. But I couldn't unfeel it. And later that night, when I lay in bed alone, all I could think about was that brief second, where something shifted. Not in him. In me. I avoided Ethan the next day. Not out of guilt, not really. It was fear. Fear that he'd mention it, or worse, act like nothing happened at all. But he didn't bring it up. He acted as if everything was normal. That made it worse. Because for me, nothing felt normal anymore. Greg called that evening. He was staying an extra 2 days. Usual excuse, meetings, networking, some dinner he couldn't skip. I nodded through the call, pretended to care, said I missed him. I didn't. I found myself listening for Ethan's footsteps. He stayed in his room mostly, but late that night, I heard him in the kitchen. I went down. Said I couldn't sleep. He said the same. We made tea. Talked about nothing. But our eyes kept locking, then looking away. Like we were both aware of something neither of us wanted to name. After that night, things started to shift. Subtly. I noticed how he started helping more, grabbing groceries, offering to cook. Small things, thoughtful things. I told myself it was sweet. But I also started wearing lip gloss again. Sitting a little closer when we watched TV. Making excuses to touch his arm when I laughed. I wasn't dumb. I knew what I was doing. I just couldn't stop. One afternoon, I mentioned how Greg forgot my birthday the week before. Ethan looked genuinely surprised. Seriously, he asked. I nodded, tried to brush it off. That evening, he left and came back with a cupcake and a tiny flower in a glass. Happy late birthday, he said. I smiled too wide. That night, I dreamed about him. I started dreading Greg's return. When he was home, Ethan stayed in his room. When he wasn't, Ethan and I would talk, long, slow conversations. We never mentioned the hug. But we didn't need to. Something invisible but heavy sat between us. One night, I walked into the living room. He was there, shirt off, watching something. I froze for a second. He looked up, eyes meeting mine, unreadable. I sat beside him anyway. My hand brushed his by accident. I didn't pull away. Neither did he. The room felt too quiet. My breathing too loud. He turned to say something. I cut him off. "I know," I whispered. And neither of us said a word after that. I told myself it couldn't happen, that I wouldn't let it. But lies have a way of becoming comfortable when the truth feels too heavy. That night, Greg called again. He'd be gone until Monday. I didn't even ask why. Ethan was already in the kitchen, pouring wine. He handed me a glass like it was routine, like this was our life. We talked quietly, laughed too easily. The space between us kept shrinking, even when we weren't moving. He asked how I met Greg. I gave the short version. He asked if I was happy. I didn't answer. He didn't look away. I told him I was tired. He said, "Me too." I got up to leave, and he followed, not speaking. I turned around, and he was right there. His eyes were searching mine, like he was asking permission without words. I didn't stop him. When he kissed me, it didn't feel wrong. It felt like the first time I'd been seen in years. Like someone was touching me not out of obligation, but out of want. I don't know who leaned in more. I only know we didn't stop. After, I lay there in silence, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding with everything I didn't want to feel. Guilt crept in like fog, slow, covering everything. Ethan didn't say anything. He just held me for a while, then got up and left the room without a word. The next morning, he barely looked at me. I wanted to ask what he was thinking, but I already knew. He regretted it. Or maybe he didn't know how to face what it meant. Maybe neither of us did. Greg came home the next evening. He kissed my cheek, told me he missed me, asked if anything interesting happened while he was gone. I said no. Ethan was quiet at dinner. Greg didn't notice. He never noticed much when it came to us. That night, lying in bed next to a man who still didn't know he'd already lost me, I thought about what I'd done. I didn't feel like a victim. I didn't feel evil either. I just felt hollow. Because the thing I had chased so desperately, connection, warmth, attention, I found it. But it came with a price I couldn't return.